We could awfulize about the marketplace, but there's still winners and there's still losers. There are so many things that are so far beyond our control. It's pointless trying.
Do you mean like don't try and completely predict everything and base your moves on what you believe?
I'm not saying that in a defeatist way. I'm saying that in a professional sense, the best thing we can do is let go. But I know for a fact, as long as I expend the energy that I have on those things, I will do the best that I can do in the situation I'm in right now. We could go all altruistic about it, but I don't want to turn into a hippie in this show, so. I've got a better chance of going really well right now, right? Any market can go well right now. It's how you play the game. You can't go balls out expecting the market to come to the figure that you're wanting to achieve. The line between ambition and delusion is quite clear. Having said that though, there is still room for a degree of conservative ambition that if you play that right, there's people wanting to spend money.
Welcome to the third episode of the Real Estate Show. With us today, Caleb Pikulis and Mr. Andy Reid, coach, mentor, mental health advocate, speaker, and a man who's inspiring action. A head trainer for the Century 21 Group, director of auctions at Apollo Victoria, an amazing auctioneer. He did a great job with me for my first auction, and an even better human being. He has 21 years in the services industry, working from the ground up to running businesses with 8-figure annual turnovers, and he's a great trainer for all service industries. This is the second time that I've got actually Andy on board, and the first conversation we had, it was extremely focused on mental health, and I loved the conversation, and I needed to get you back, Andy. So we started this real estate show, and I thought, you know what, like there's probably no one better that I'd love to have on board. To provide a lot of value to everybody that's going to be watching, and not only just, I know it's probably a heavy real estate audience, but just for everyone in general. The market has been extremely interesting, and I'm sure you've got some war stories that's been going on out there. You've probably got your sword and you're swinging, trying to get deals done, and it's probably wild out there, but we'll definitely get into it. So welcome, man.
Man, thanks ever so much for having me. Not often do I get introduced, right? Normally I'm the one doing the introducing. And I felt tired just hearing that shit. So maybe I need to strip back a little bit, right? Maybe I need to fucking take it easy a little bit.
I gotta make sure that introduction was nailed, because everyone's gotta know what an amazing human being you are, and
too kind.
We just need to get them. You need to hook them with
too kind, my friend.
To listen to this.
Too kind, my friend. Too kind. How are we doing anyway, boys?
Good.
We're all right. We're moving and grooving through, through everything that's going on. It's obviously choppy waters out there. I feel like we have gone through a few markets like this in the last 10 years that I've been in the game. 2018, after the elections was tough. 2020, obviously when COVID hit, was tough. And then probably, I'd say from April, May onwards, has been tough out there in the real estate market. Stock levels hasn't been too crazy. So it's funny, even, I'll just use my team, for example. Like, let's just use Fedge. He came in when the market, so he came in during COVID, so it was a little bit tough for him, but he was more at a learning phase. So I kind of just told him, just learn as much as you can, come around. So he wasn't really too well versed to, dealing with vendors and buyers. But then as soon as we opened up, it was a crazy market. So he was just opening the door. He was like a security guard. He was like throwing brochures, like, how good is this? We're doing deals.
But he was a good-looking security guard, right?
He was.
Yeah, at least he looked the part.
Bloody oath. So, you've had Spiro making sure that he's been uploading Fedge on his Instagram, so girls can be, attaching themselves to
something.
Spiro just slip-lading the shit out of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
good on him.
There was one of the other guys that he's not part of the real estate. He uploaded a photo with Fedge yesterday. just making sure that some girls can be following him. So,
Yep.
so on the girls' perspective, I think they're doing all right, but on the listeners' perspective,
Yeah. I mean, if only that well, it could make him money if he wanted to start an OnlyFans or something. I guess. If he wanted to start selling himself like that, there's probably a market for him.
Yeah, it could be. So it's been. I think it's been interesting. How have you been finding it?
It's been random, right? It's been random. So for me, we could awfulize about the marketplace, but there's still winners and there's still losers, right? And I'd much rather look at the cup half full scenario as opposed to the other side of it. So, and that's the language that I have with vendors, because every weekend that I'm calling auctions, and I'm calling plenty every single weekend still, there are some that have been a real struggle. And then there are some that I'm calling these numbers, and in the back of my head, because I have an internal commentary going on, and if I could plug it in, it'd probably be quite entertaining. But in the back of my head, I'm going, shit, these numbers would be good in a good market. It's a very, very random marketplace. And the main reason for that, summed up perfectly with an accountant friend of mine. He's got they've just been listed as like one of the top accounting firms in the country, right? This guy's legit. He's so cool, so humble, such an awesome human being, so intelligent. He calls me up and goes, Andy, I need a coffee with you. I'm like, fuck, something's wrong. Well, what's up, mate? And normally he's super pleasant, right? And he's super polite and he exchanges and does all that. He comes up to me before we even ordered a coffee. He goes, Andy. I went, yes, mate, what's wrong? He goes, what the fuck is going on with the marketplace? I went, what do you mean? And he goes, I cannot work it out. I can't work out what my clients are doing. And this guy's been in the game for donkey's years, right? And the reason for that is that there is zero statistics, data, evidence. There is nothing of logic that will support anything that's going on right now. There is literally nothing in history that we are repeating. Like, because normally history repeats itself and you can work it out. So even in a standard downturn, you know what's likely to go on. There are that many variables that have come together in such a unique way that there is zero historical evidence to be able to predict with any degree of accuracy what's going to go on in the future.
I'm really bad with my history, so I think when was World War One?
14 to 18, 1914 to 1918.
Okay, 1914 to 18. When was the Spanish flu?
Spanish flu?
Yeah.
That was like 1800s.
Okay, no, that's out of question. I know about that. I was trying to think maybe
Bless you, mate. Mate, stick in your lane. If history's not your thing, don't fucking go there.
I was trying to work something out. I'm like, maybe there's some. Yeah, you're probably right.
No, look. Yeah. That's what most people are trying to go back to, is that Spanish flu, because that was the last time there was a pandemic. It was in 1800s. It was like 1920 something or something like that, where there was a pandemic of this proportion that affected the world, right? But the problem is, that's not the only thing that's going on right now.
There's a lot more than that.
You've got this angry old Russian that's kicking off, right? That didn't happen in Spanish flu time. You've got decentralization going on and trying to find its feet, right? That never happened in the Spanish flu.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, there are so many more factors going on above and beyond anything that's gone on in the past. It's just a combination of variables that make it impossible to be able to predict what's going on. And anybody that tries to is just talking out their arse.
Yeah, well, if you look at, everyone that's been predicting over the last couple of years, it's literally gone the opposite. No one would have seen what was going to happen last year.
Totally.
And no one even saw 2020.
Everybody's crystal balls broke a long time ago, man. And the best thing we can do as consumers, as professionals, as human beings, is let go of so much. Let go trying to be so much in control, because it's those control freaks that are really doing themselves in.
When you say that, like, maybe just go a little bit deeper with that. Like, when you say don't try and control, do you mean like don't try and just completely predict everything and base your moves on what you believe or like...
Oh, look, there's an age-old saying, right, that you can only control the controllables, and I'm not going to pretend to say that I made that up. That's been a saying for donkey's years, right? But now more so than ever, we as human beings need to literally focus on the things that we can reach and grab and control, because there are so many things that are so far beyond our control right now. It's pointless trying. And I'm not saying that in a defeatist way. I'm saying that as human beings and like I said, in a professional sense, in a running your life sense, and I can speak to this very personally, right now, I can only influence what I can influence. I can only affect the things that are within my control. As long as I expend the energy that I have on those things, I know for a fact, that is the one thing that I can predict, is that I will do the best that I can do in the situation I'm in right now. And we all need to be doing that. Yes, and I appreciate that there's there's macroeconomics and there's people that have financial situations that have dependency on those macroeconomics and so on and so forth. But unless you've got Putin on speed dial, what the fuck are you going to do about it?
Bad.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
So you may as well, instead of wasting so much energy on being anxious about stuff, because anxiety just burns through your energy like there's no tomorrow. And if you could just focus even a bit of that on the stuff that you can do, you can at least go to bed knowing that you've done that to the best of your ability, to the best of your capability, capacity, resources, so that you know whatever happens from there, that's what's going to happen, right? We could go all altruistic about it, but I don't want to turn into a hippie in this show, so...
Mate, wherever we have to take this, Andy, we'll run it, because I love your insights, and I love just talking to you in general, man. And I think, like, so when you talk about it's a really random market, like, what are you kind of seeing? Like, what's kind of doing really well? What's struggling? Okay. Is there any certain pockets? Because you're well versed around the whole of Melbourne, you're everywhere.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that respect, right? And you know, for those of you that don't know who I am, and there'll be plenty obvious, like
maybe give a bit of an origin story. I know I gave you an amazing introduction, but maybe
you did. You know, you really, really did.
Tell us a bit about your story.
Maybe actually before I get into that question of what you're seeing, maybe a bit of an origin story.
Take a step back.
Yeah. So look, I'm an auctioneer by passion. And what I mean by passion is that it's my drug, and I'm fortunate enough that I came across something that pays me, but that makes me feel at home and puts me in flow, and I call it a drug very, very specific. That I do it very purposefully, because it is the thing that gets me up in a day, and so I'm very, very fortunate that I've been entrusted by a number of different brands across Melbourne to represent them at the coalface every single weekend. And I go across all different pockets, different suburbs, different types of houses and whatnot. And I'm lucky because I get to have this helicopter view that very, very few people in the industry get to have. Very, very few. In Melbourne at the very least. And it's a unique view that the Herald Suns and the Domains and News.com, they all love all that shit, because I can tell them shit that very few other people can. And so and just to put it into context, you know, like last weekend, my first auction was I think it was a 55 odd square, $3 million plus property in Glen Waverley. Then I went to an 800 grand something or other bog standard thing, a little bit further out, and then I went back in to do another multi-million-dollar property, and then I did a shitbox apartment, right? So I do, you know, variety is the spice of life, right? And I get to call in front of a lot of different properties every single weekend. I mean, yeah, and then last weekend I ended up at 120 acres in Garfield. Right?
Where's bloody Garfield? I don't even know where that is.
Where 120 acre properties are. Still. And FYI, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, it was literally one of the best highlights of my entire auctioning life happened in that auction.
What happened?
15 seconds in, right? So we're doing it. We're doing it on the front yard of this property. Plenty of people there, and I'm 15 seconds in. The owner's Labrador walks up in front of me and just does the biggest shit known to man. It was amazing. It was the funniest thing I've ever experienced in an auction ever. You couldn't have scripted it. It got caught on camera. It was on live stream. And I was 15 seconds in and I went, let's kick things off by going through the contract. Pleased to hear, crystal clear in its nature. And the dog's about to do a shit. It was amazing.
What's the dog telling you?
Oh, no, mate. I said, show you what, I said to her, I said, show you what he thinks.
Yeah.
And he just walked off proud as punch, having done the biggest shit in the middle of everything. It was so funny.
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
As long as it's on camera, that is bloody
insane. It was so good. It was so good. So anyway, I digress. So in terms of what I mean by a random market, yes, there are certain types of properties that I've got a better chance of going really well right now, right? And I'll go through them in a sec. But any market can go well right now. It's how you play the game, not how you play the person. And effectively what I mean by that, and this is advice to consumers and to agents really, is that yes, you can't go balls out expecting the market to come to the figure that you're wanting to achieve. That's just stupid, right? If you try and be, the line between ambition and delusion is quite clear. It's really quite well defined right now. And it's very obvious when you are deluded as a homeowner. Okay. Having said that though, there is still room for a degree of conservative ambition that if you play that right, there's people wanting to spend money. There's still money being spent. Like, for example, that pocket of Glen Waverley, Mount Waverley, where there are 50, 60 square, big joints, right? Your 5 bedroom, 5 bathrooms, Mickey Mouse stuff, like jacked up to the hilt with marble and stuff, blah, 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 all the stuff, all the trimmings. And you would have thought that in Glen Waverley, in Monash, going over 3 mil would be quite difficult in the market that the media is portraying. What I'm seeing every single week, because I'm doing one of them almost every single week, at least one of them. And I am struggling to remember the last time I didn't go over 3 mil.
Yeah, wow. And how many buyers are you finding at auction? Like how many bidders?
Oh, well, there was one. So the one that I had last weekend had 3.
Yeah.
And they were all there towards the end.
Yeah.
I had one the week before in Mount Waverley that had 6.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's strong.
I had Wheelers Hill. I had another one, right? Big home. It was on the Golden Mile of Wheelers Hill, right? Good spot. Good spot. Elevated property on an elevated block. Cracking views. It was a really, really nice home. Well presented, and then we'll get onto that in a second. I got $400,000 worth of bids in 8 bids.
Wow.
And all I did was ask, and the first 3 bids were 100K. I went from 1.9 to 2.2 like that, and I'd hit reserve straight away within about a minute. Right?
Wow, even like I went to an auction on Saturday. It was a property in Northcote. So we launched one yesterday that's very similar to it.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and there hasn't been one similar to that probably in a long time. So it was like semi-detached, and so I'm going to go down and have a look to see what's happening now. I was like, okay, it's probably worth 125, 13. That was like that's what I was thinking. Anyway, it goes on the market at 12. I was like, all right. And then it just completely flew. It was only 2 bidders.
Yep.
And I was watching this like, this is nuts. So do you think from my takeaway from that was, okay, could be like a supply and demand issue. that this was like the only property that was on the market that was similar in a very long time. So obviously buyers are probably looking for something similar to that. So when it did come up, we had there was two bidders, but they were pretty strong at it. Is that what you're kind of seeing? Like,
well, look, the one thing that's keeping the market afloat right now is the lack of supply, right? So yes, absolutely. Let's not piss fart around. Of course, there are less buyers in the marketplace right now. Of course there are, man.
Yeah.
The interest rate's going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So let's not discount that. However, the spring rush hasn't happened.
it hasn't.
It just hasn't.
Yeah.
And because of that alone, good properties are still going like the clappers.
Yeah.
And it sort of it goes back to the point that I alluded to just before about well-presented homes are still selling very, very well. And what I mean by that is the family home that gives buyers no excuse, and it gives them no reason to think that they can't do well, they can't just move in and live and be happy. They're going for it. I was in Keysborough for one, right? And it was a home that they'd done a bit of a reno job, but I wouldn't want to look too.
Just the paint, paint and carpet.
I wouldn't want to look too hard into it, right? You wouldn't need a magnifying glass to
see
spot a couple of
something,
bits and bobs. And it was in a part of Keysy where it left a bit to be desired. Let's put it that way. And 6 bidders at that, flew over a mil, went like the clappers, went really, really well. I was thinking, shit, this would do well to just hit early 9s. Ended up going for like $1,056,000 or something. There was a mum with a young girl, who actually a 3-year-old girl who I got her to do the hammer drop.
Oh, I saw that.
Cute as, right? She's wicked, and she was so confident for a 3-year-old. And I was speaking to the mum afterwards, and her words rang so true, because she literally said, if we find a home that we feel we're going to be happy in, we'll buy it now. There's a lot more of that than what we're giving credit for. There are a lot more families that are getting beyond desperate to find a home that they can move their family into before those interest rates get away from them and they can't afford what they want to get. That's some serious motivation right there, right? I saw it in her face. I didn't have to prompt the conversation. I didn't have to do nothing. She was a top chick. And she just goes, because she was potentially in for that one. She ended up not bidding because she just felt it wasn't, because she saw some of the interest.
Wasn't ready for her.
Right? But she goes, Andy, if I can find something that I know we're going to be happy in, I'll buy it straight away. The reason, the biggest thing that put her off was that some of the neighbours around that property were rough as gods. Because it was that part of Keys. So there is absolutely still a market to do well in. One area that's still struggling, it's been struggling forever in Melbourne, is the apartments. Apartment land is still struggling. Having said that, you go a little bit further out and you can still do well, but the closer into the city you get, the more the apartments are going to struggle.
A lot of supply.
Yeah, a lot of oversupply. The ones that are on, the old ones that are on a stratum, they're going to be in struggle town forever. But apart from that, the subdividable stuff, I think there's a lot of people that have done their dough in buying a subdividable block, getting all the plans and permits through, and thinking that's going to be their golden ticket. They've done their dough because the market shift has swallowed up any profit that they were likely to see. So if you're if you're a vendor that is holding one of them, my suggestion is see if you can work out how you can actually make it come to fruition, as opposed to trying to sell it off.
What are you seeing? Like, I haven't really been seeing a lot of development sites hit the market, but a lot of them aren't stacking up. So there are a lot off market, but vendors have just got wild prices on them, like literally hoping for the best. So what are you kind of seeing with even just development sites have you done any that have gone to auction recently?
Yeah, I have, and they are in struggle town. Generally speaking, those ones, because a lot of the properties that we're seeing come on the market right now, and this is where your opportunity arises for buyers, is that a greater proportion of them are one of the 3 Ds, right? Death, debt, divorce. They're one of those 3 things, right? That are on the market. The development sites that are on the market right now is generally the second D, which is the debt one, right? They've generally stretched themselves too far. Their variable interest rates are now making it getting real touch and go as to whether they can afford to keep it, and therefore they have to offload it. There is some opportunity in development land. So for those real clever, those real smart, got their eye on the ball investors, that's where there's an opportunity right now for buying, is my suggestion, because there are the ones that are on the market right now, they're invariably going to be, they're going to be pushing it in terms of their capacity to keep it. And so there can be an opportunity. If you win that first right to negotiate, you could be on like Donkey Kong to get yourself a decent buy.
Okay, so for anyone that's actually looking, to purchase at auction, like what are some tips that you have, or just even in general?
So I got asked this on a different podcast, right? And they were looking for, it was a broker, and they were looking for like strategies, right? Looking for strategies, what's the best strategy?
What's the secret sauce?
What's the special thing? It's like, what do you want? One of them fucking baseball signals where you do something like that to the auctioneer. Twizzle your ear, spit twice, and grab your crotch, and that's the magic signal, like a Freemason or something, right?
What's the thing
Yeah.
they do?
What's the secret handshake? And the biggest bit of advice that I can say to any buyer that wants to get in at any part of the market: turn the fuck up, rock up,
Just have
right?
a look. Yeah.
Turn up, because it just, and this is where buyers are really screwing themselves over, because they're doing exactly the same mistakes that a lot of vendors are making, that a lot of agents are making, in trying to predict what's going to happen, trying to get a handle on what's going to happen. You can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
The ones that are winning are the ones that are turning up and being opportunistic based on what's going on in front of them, right? So, for example, this is where I'm in I love this position. I fucking love it. I feel so fortunate to be in this position that I'm in, because I've got so many examples of all of these things. There was one in Seaford where, bless him, the owner, he was about to have it taken off him by the bank in 3 days' time, 4 days' time. It was on the Sunday. Bank told him they're going to repo it on the Wednesday. Yeah, he had X amount that they were going to value it for, and it was way under what it was worth, but that was his debt level, and they were going to take the property off him. He'd gone through the ringer. Missus had screwed him, mental health breakdown, lost his, you name it, this bloke's won the unlucky lottery, right? And so he needed to sell. We needed to make sure that he left it with something that allowed him to get out of it with a start, yeah? There was a lady that was there with her daughter and prospective son-in-law, and she was opportunistic, probably bought it about 90 odd G unders what it was worth, right? It's not her fault. Unfortunately, it's a series of mistakes and things that have gone on in his life that's resulted in that. He didn't have a choice. It was either come out of that thing with 180, 190 grand, right? Or have it taken off him and him end up with nothing and be bankrupt, right? So what's the lesser of two evils here? She was opportunistic, stuck her hand up, won the right to negotiate, stuck an extra 20 grand on top of her first bid and bought it. That's what I'm saying by opportunistic. I'm not saying take advantage of someone's misery. Ultimately, like I said, there are always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers. Mm-hmm. You can't begrudge people of winning in a scenario. That's life.
100%.
That's life. And so, and I'm not saying to agents to tell these people that you've got an opportunity to blah, 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 blah. Definitely don't do that, because we work for our vendors. And in that particular scenario, that agent had tried to do the right thing and tried to sell it privately for more money and all the rest of it. And it just got to that 11th hour where they just had to face reality. That house needed a shit ton of work done to it, right? And it had a garage in the back that was not on the bloody land because it was a subdivision, and there's all sorts of wrong with it, right? So they tried to do the right, and they just had to do the necessary thing. So it's not a case of agents being opportunistic. I'm definitely not saying that. Agents, do not try and take advantage of people like that. It's not your job. You're a dickhead if you do that. But for buyers, if they get a win, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So turn up buyers. The worst thing that a buyer can do is assume what's going to happen. Because I tell you now, it's probably what's not going to happen.
Are you finding even like just with buyers, do you feel like and fair enough, they can take, they're obviously seeing that there's gaps where they could probably buy the property for cheaper than what it's listed and blah, blah, blah. But do you feel like some of them are maybe just pushing the envelope a little bit too much in regards to, okay, so you're nodding your head.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, because...
but is it biting them in the...
like there's no tomorrow. So, you know, once you've turned up, the next thing you need to do is win the right to negotiate.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you will have, it doesn't matter if they need to sell or not, if they're one of the 3Ds or not, any vendor is going to be at a peak state from an emotional point of view in terms of the desire to sell the home when they're in an auction.
Yeah.
If you win the right to negotiate, you are likely to see a vendor in a much more malleable frame of mind, wanting to just get the deal done. Yeah. So that's irrespective of whatever market it is. In this current market right now, and this has been one observation that I made back in sort of January, February, March time, vendors are so much more aware of how life is playing out right now, because there is that much going on in the media that it's undeniable, absolutely undeniable as to what's going on. Most of the time, your vendors will take, say, 6 months to come to realization of what the bad news, right? The market's not on their side now. It was almost instant this time.
So you think vendors, a lot of them they're realistic in a sense, yeah?
The only way
They know they should be.
Huh?
Or they know they should be.
They know they should be, and I think a lot of the time, that if I'm going into an auction and the vendor's not realistic, I'm looking at the agent, not the vendor.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you do get the occasion. Yes, you do get some vendors that, you know, think that they know everything, and good on them. And I've got no problem in saying that to them. That's the role that a subjective auctioneer should play, is to say, look, I got to tell you, I think you're barking up the wrong tree here.
Yeah.
But an agent can't be, and this is where I see some agents making a mistake, they will use the auction as the beating stick.
Yeah. What's with that? Yeah.
They
a
all
lot of
like that's
conditioning vendors in the auction 4 weeks.
They don't want to say, they don't want to tell them the reality. It's not bad news, it's just the reality, because they either bought the listing in the first place, and what we mean by that, consumers, is they promised an amount of money that was never going to happen in a million years. That's what buying the listing refers to.
Yeah.
They've done that, and they're too shit scared to face the truth.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I think generally, like we've always, and we're discussing this on the podcast, with an agent yesterday, but we were talking about how I always say to the team, just go and tell the truth. You go and tell the truth, you know, let's just say the property's worth 1.2, it's worth 1.2. Agents are going in at 1.4, 1.5. Now, generally, most of the time, if they do that, they'll get the listings. And then 70% of the time, they'll crunch the vendor. It might take an extra 60, 90, 120 days to get the deal done, but they're getting that deal done. Then you get that 20, 30% that will then come to us the second time around and be like, and then you get them more on a realistic basis. Now, what's, like, I don't understand, like, why are the agents doing this? And obviously, like you said, to buy the listing, but you know, how's this? I don't know. What's your advice on this? And because you were an agent, you were in the game, you were doing what, over 80, 100 deals a year, before you got into this. So like, what's your thought process behind it all? Because it's demotivating for agents.
Other agents,
like even us, like.
Oh shit! Yeah, and absolutely. You know, people that are trying to do the right thing, right?
And tell the truth.
Yeah, people that are trying to tell the truth, and then it's that old adage of nice guys finish last, right?
Yeah,
it's that thing.
Yeah.
I believe that nice guys can finish first every single time. The reason why is because you can't argue with logic, right? So, for any agents that are listening to this that are one of those nice guys, right, that are losing, my advice would be to look at the data, right? Look at the statistics, look at the days on market per agent, right? Because you know for a fact, you look at two things, days on market and percentage change from the initial price, right? If you can provide evidence, black and white, concrete logic that shows that agent dickhead who is buying stock with their ridiculously exorbitant pricing, invariably those two stats will be ballooning out. They will, like you said, they will have longer days on market, and they're great, and they will have a much greater percentage change from that initial price. If you do your homework on that, invariably dickhead agents will get shown up by those two statistics, and you can have that evidence there. It's not a case of bagging out other agents. It's a case of getting vendors to understand, and vendors need to pay attention to this too. The success parameters that you need to pay attention to as a consumer when selecting an agent are things like, it's not just days on market, because days on market can be really low, but then you might just have an absolute
pushy agent.
Bull in a gate. Yeah, you might have just an absolute bulldog agent that just rips into them from day one, right? And there are particular brands who are well versed in that, and I won't name names. Yeah. But we know we know who they are. You know who you are. But that percentage change from initial price, that's a massive tell. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, the one thing that I do want to make sure that you feel comfortable with and confident with, that the selection you make with the agent that you go with is not just based on how you feel, but also how you are thinking. We are judged in two criteria: whether we are good human beings and you feel comfortable having us in your biggest asset in your home, and our credibility. Do we know what we're doing? And do we know what we're talking about? Now, everyone's crystal ball broke years ago. There is no data to back anything when it comes to what this thing's likely to get at market. None of us are going to know until it actually happens, right? But what we can do is be educated in our opinions. And if you look at these statistics, these properties here, and I'll let you do your own homework as to which agents they are, these properties here that have got a 30, 25, 20% change from when they were first listed to what they sold for, that shows a lack of professionalism around what they are actually looking at in the market, first off, but also it shows a lack of confidence in their own abilities as an agent. Mm-hmm. That's not me bagging another agent out. That's them screwing themselves over because of bad practice. I'm not bagging an agent out to a vendor. And I always used to say to vendors, I know that there will be other agents that will be talking about me or whoever else, and go for it. I don't talk about any of my competitors, because right now, the only important person that I want to talk about is you. You're the only one that's important in all this. Why the hell would I talk about anyone else?
It's even, I do find like there are a lot of like agents that they do go in and just start trying to tear the building down of their competitors and to try and win. I think it's a bad look.
It always used to happen against me.
Yeah.
It always used to happen. Mainly because of the fact that I was the only one with an English accent. So when an agent realised, or whether the vendor let slip that it was the English guy, they knew it was me.
Yeah.
Right? They knew it was me. So they tried to. But the problem was for them was two things. One, I didn't predetermine what the best course of action was. Right? So I didn't go in there thinking in my mind, right, auction's the best way to go, or private sale's the best way to go, because I don't want to be a doctor that prescribes the medicine before I've heard all the symptoms. And I was comfortable with any method, right? So if I can play whichever game you want to play, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do the right thing by the vendor, and I'll win. But the other thing was, you can't argue, you can't bullshit, you can't shit on someone that's comfortable in their own vulnerability, right? That was my win. That was my key, is that I understood that vulnerability was the key to true professionalism. I owned what I was good at. and I owned what I wasn't so good at. I owned when I couldn't pick up the phone straight away, and I told my vendors that straight away. I said to them, you can catch me every other Wednesday, you can catch me any day except every other Wednesday. That's going to be when it's going to be a bit more difficult. Why? Because it's daddy-daughter day. As I'm sure you can appreciate, she's more important than you, me, or anybody. That's not me being a salesperson. That's just me being a guy that's telling them straight. Every other Wednesday, it's going to be difficult to get hold of me because I'm probably going to be knee-deep in nappies or shit or something, right? That's just life. And there's no agent under the sun that can beat that. You can't beat it. There's no point, and it's a bad look. People, our industry, and I'm trying so hard here, mate, to not get on my high horse, but our industry laments how they are perceived by the public, and yet we are our own worst enemy because we go, we're treated like we're the one up from Prozzies or two down from Prozzies, one up from used car salesman or whatever the fuck the statistics are, right? But then when the shoe's on the other foot, we are the quickest to bag the shit out of everybody else.
100%, yeah.
Right? I'm going through some personal stuff right now. The one person I'm never going to bag out is the one person that's causing me the most grief. Never. Why?
Wild, isn't it?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Who does that benefit?
No one.
Same with agents. Who the fuck does it benefit?
Yeah.
All it's doing is making you and everybody else look bad.
Yeah.
Focus on your own game, man, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Get better instead of trying to make other people get worse.
Bloody oath. And even going into, let's just go into, I think let's touch on agents in general. Now, you even being a head trainer for Century 21, you've got a really well-versed look on what's going on out there within, just agents. How are you finding them? Like, what are they going through at the moment?
It depends what level you're at, right? So I work with everybody. So business owners, property managers, department heads, salespeople at whatever level, whether they're winners, whether they're not winning, whether they're new. I work with everybody. The biggest challenge that business owners are facing in the game is talent, recruiting and retaining talent. This whole great resignation thing, for me, is being used as an excuse by business owners to not look at their own inadequacies from a cultural point of view, from a culture perspective. Ultimately, people aren't going to resign if they feel safe, secure, and have certainty in their role and what they do. End of. And if you're not providing that, that's on you. It's not on them. It's not on the new generation, right? This whole bagging out of the new generation, the latest generation to come into the workforce, how they don't stick to anything and they quit after 5 minutes and blah 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 blah. They won't quit if they feel like they're being satisfied in what they want to achieve.
I think what business owners need to understand is the new generation have more choice than ever.
Yeah.
They can go and start a YouTube channel and make 80,000 a year.
Right, but you know what? You know what though, man, right? And I've got such a good example, and she's an absolute fucking rock star, right? And I'll name her. I'll call her out, Rachel Dalton, and I hope she listens to this because she deserves to hear this. I had an argument with a prominent CEO of another real estate brand, right? We just had a catch-up for coffee, so it was a healthy debate, should we call it? He was arguing vehemently because of Harvard reports. Fucking Harvard, whatever, man. Anyway, that's like because they're definitely in touch with reality, right? Yeah. He was using Harvard reports and it's all about money. It's all about money. You are talking shit, my friend. Rachel Dalton, she is a buyer agent for a very, very good agent called Gav Steindl, who's in the Ray White network, yeah? And Gav's a ledge, currently representing Australia in floorball at the World Championships.
Okay.
Very random. But Rach, right, she's been given the freedom to explore other things that she wants to do. A couple of years ago, she got the state award for Buyer Agent of the Year in the Ray White network. She's a fucking gun when it comes to being a buyer's agent. She's a young, white, Australian female. She works in an area that is predominantly 8, 9 out of 10 are subcontinental male alpha buyers who have very little respect. And that's a very sweeping statement, I know, but culturally speaking, they still have a hierarchy when it comes to things like gender. Yeah?
Definitely.
So she's had to earn her respect. Yeah? He's a $1.2, $1.3 million writer. She does the majority of those offers. She gets a buttload of offers every single week. Now, here's the cool thing. She's recently launched her own line of lingerie because she was given the freedom to explore the things that she wants to do beyond her job. She will never leave Gav as a result of that. Never in a million years will she leave Gav. Because she's been given, she's got by Bodie, it's called. Because he's recognised that and because he's put trust in her to still turn up and do the right thing by him, he's given her all the freedom in the world.
That's amazing.
That's the way to play the game with that generation. As soon as you make them feel like they are chained down, they're gone. Flash as quick as you like. But there is room within our industry to provide that level of flexibility. There really is. Entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, or the trendy thing that's going on right now, they need to feel the freedom to taste, right? They need to feel that freedom in order to go and try different stuff. If you can be that one, that employer that gives them that home base, that gives them that anchor, that helps them feel that their life ain't just going to go float off into the distance and fail, you'll have them for life, man. You'll have them for life. It's amazing. And we've got that flexibility, haven't we?
Bloody oath. Bloody oath. And I think it's, yeah, like, I don't know, I think a lot of business owners are kind of they're scared as well. Like, even, we're speaking to an agent yesterday, and he's got 2 PAs or something, and he mentioned on camera, he's like, oh, you know, what shits me is, you know, I'll train them for 12 months, and then they'll move on, or something like that. And we didn't really go deep into whatever that conversation was, but my general basis was you're never really gonna know. Like, someone could, you know, you might stick with someone and they might be amazing. Like, even this Dalton lady, she might get a husband that wants to live in the Gold Coast, or like the partner that lives in Gold Coast, and they'll move over, touch wood, something might happen to her health. You just can't, like, you never know.
And this comes back to my point about control. Control what you can control.
Yeah.
Instead of shitting yourself, because unfortunately, and I'm sure this agent is awesome, but unfortunately...
He's a good guy.
I'm sure he is, man. I'm sure he is. But unfortunately for him, he's already determining what's going to happen before it's happened.
Yeah.
That is an energy thing. And again, I'm not going to be a hippie about this shit.
But you speak it into existence.
100%, man. 100%. And so instead of worrying about the fact that they're going to be gone in 12 months, enjoy the fact that they're with you for 12 months.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
And then they might enjoy it and be there longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tune into what it is that they want to actually achieve in their lives. Because I'll tell you now, if those 2 PAs, one of them will have that entrepreneurial tendency to want to go off and do their own thing. Any salesperson worth their salt has that in them.
Yeah, they do. They do. And
let them experience that shit, man.
Yeah, and even like I
help them.
Yeah, I feel like I'll just use like my whole thought process, even with people within my team, is I see a few of them have a bit of a business mindset. Well, they're salesmen, so everyone's kind of got it in their DNA. But my thought process is obviously real estate is a core thing, but you never know what can happen. Like, I'll just use like Caleb for a perfect example. Obviously he's learning his craft and he's pushing, but we're doing styling on the side, and I think it's something where it doesn't it's not something where it's taking up too much of our time. But I'll just use a few things that Caleb said. He's like, I'm really enjoying, and you could probably talk but he's like, I'm really enjoying this part of it, and I feel like we're exploring something, and if it never really worked, we'll
find
just
something else
and kind of move. But I felt like it was something where it's pretty easy and basic, and it's a home run being in our industry.
Right, Cal, let me ask you this question, right? Do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
It's very
And
interesting.
FYI,
Probably still no.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
And
Definitely
FYI,
no.
Caleb,
I'm 24.
he's 24. But you've got a very wise old head on your shoulders, man. You're a very measured guy, which is what I have, which is what I really respect about you, actually, for your age, especially for your age, for anyone really. But your answer of "I don't know" is the same answer that everybody else will say.
Well, yeah.
So why the fuck do we try and force people like you that have got ambition to only focus on one thing? It's like showing them this entire pick and mix wall, right?
Yeah.
This entire lolly shop of pick and mix, and showing them all, and saying, right, you can only have that one lolly. Like, what kid is gonna want to go? Is gonna be like, I want one of them.
Yeah, maybe 100 years ago when there was only a couple of
30
options.
years ago.
Absolutely.
30 years ago.
But that's the psyche.
There's only a newspaper and you can't see everything
Well,
else.
it was 30 years ago. It was finish school, go to university, get a piece of paper, so pay this money, and then go get a job. Where now, like this Harvard guy that is going on about these bloody stats, that guy doesn't understand. Well, he probably does, but the guy doesn't understand that university is a business. So they're there to make money, and this business is outdated, and they haven't evolved.
It's more so that you go one step further back. The education system, historically speaking, has a hierarchy of subjects, right? And I've said this on a couple of editorials recently. So Ken Robinson is a British guy, unfortunately passed away. He's got his knighthood for services to education. He was living in LA. He's got one of the most watched TED Talks on the platform. He talks about education killing creativity because of that hierarchy of subjects, right? It's either physics, maths, science, or it's English, right? Art, drama, music is down here, yeah? But that's part of the problem, is the fact that education systems in the Western countries is designed to put people into bits of the machine, right? It's designed to filter off, right, you're gonna go into law, you're gonna go into engineering, you're gonna go into whatever, right? And that's your spot. They try and filter everybody into one of those funnels from a very, very early age. Whereas the abstract nature of how the world works nowadays means that all you're going to do by doing that is create so many mental health problems, it's not even funny. I am a product of that broken system, right? I didn't realize that I was a relatively creative guy because I was pushed down that, because I happened to be good at maths and physics, right? So I got shoved down the engineering path, right? Because I was on that conveyor belt. Go to school, get an education, go to school, right, now you have to go to university and get a degree. Get your degree, then you have to go get blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't my parents' fault, it's just how they were drilled. We need to embrace the fact that this generation is so much more aware as to the opportunities, like you said, that are out there, and the fact that they don't know what they want to do. Some people do, and the ones that do, absolutely, go get your medicine degree because that's what you want to be. You want to be a doctor, and fuck me, I want them to go to school for 7 years before they start bloody opening me up, right? I want them to go, you know what I mean?
We agreed on that. We agreed on the doctor. Okay, yeah.
So we're all going to agree on that one, right?
If you want to be a doctor, yeah. We agree on that.
I don't want you learning that shit off YouTube, right? Fuck no. But for everybody else that is not sure about what they want to do, that's all right. But we as employers, we as an industry, need to allow that flexibility and freedom if we're to retain some of the best minds, energies, and enthusiasm that is coming into the workforce now.
Yeah, and I think even as well, like a lot of people get kind of stuck. Let's just use any industry. They go down a path, and they're making X amount of dollars, and I feel like sometimes they can get a little bit stuck because they're too married to the money, because they're living a certain lifestyle, and they're too married to the money to then drop that to maybe go chase happiness. So maybe they're not entirely happy with what they're doing.
Golden handcuffs, man.
Or they
They're
feel
a brick.
they're too deep in the process. Of
Yeah,
that
golden handcuffs is what nearly sent me over the edge.
Yeah.
Like literally, we put ourselves in a position where I had no choice because I was doing well.
Yeah.
We always end up living to our means, right? We'll always float our life up to our means. It's just how we work in Western civilization. And it got to the stage where we had no choice, we had no movement, and it fucked me hard. It really, really screwed me over. But when you think about it, right, like it's actually really bad business to stick all your eggs in one basket anyway.
Definitely, yeah.
It just is. It's just stupid to have all of your eggs in one basket. And by us trying to force people to commit to one job. And yeah, if you want to be really, really good in real estate, of course there's a level of commitment, 100%.
Of course.
You know,
In anything, you want to
so
be...
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can do this part-time and get away with it, right? Absolutely not.
You want to be the best tennis player, like you got to,
And that's where Rach Dalton, she
Yeah.
is still 100%
Yeah.
fully committed. It's just she's got the energy to add another 50% doing something
Yeah.
else as well,
Yeah.
right? You, Carol,
I'll
you're the same.
I'll
right?
use my perspective. Like I've got 4 or 5 different things that I'm kind of running, and people look at me like, and they ask me all the time and say, Christian, like you're doing a lot, and you're spread out a lot. Like, wouldn't it be more if you focused on one thing? And my answer is always like, yeah, I could probably make, like if I stuck to one thing for the next 20 years. Who knows? I could probably go and make more money. I'm not sure. It's really hard to judge on that. But generally speaking, yes, because if you want to be the best at one thing, you have to. But for me, I get bored. I actually love everything I do. It's like a passion for me. You know, going into like NFT marketing, or you know, running my mining stuff, or like doing something on the side with Caleb and Nicole. Like I get different motives out of everything. For me, like I'll use styling. You know, I get a real kick knowing that Caleb and Nicole are doing this, and I actually enjoy it, and I just find it fun. The NFT stuff, 2 years ago, I honestly thought, like I only was focusing on real estate, and I honestly thought that my main goal was I'm going to be the #1 real estate agent. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to work to. I was working every day and I was swinging. Then I watched this video one day. It was Josh Teslin and Emil Juresic, April 2020. I remember at lockdown, May 2020, somewhere there. And like Josh Teslin had just become like the #1 agent, and he was just gunning about, I think he did 4 million or something crazy. He was the #1 agent. He just got announced. And I was watching this video, and I didn't care. Like, I wasn't envious, not jealous. I wasn't just like, oh, I want to be that. I want to be better than him. It didn't G me up. And at that moment, I kind of realized, okay, maybe this is not, like, I still love real estate. I still want to build this and I still want to grow, but maybe I want to explore other kind of paths. And
why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Right? Why not? Like, ultimately, we have to have a commitment towards our clients and our customers, and
100%.
That's exactly what we should be doing, because they're trusting us with their biggest assets.
100%.
However, the speed at which we can try other stuff anyway means that you'd be crazy not to.
Yeah.
You'd be, as a business person, you'd be mad not to.
Bloody
right?
hell.
Absolutely nuts. And the other thing is, it all kind of boils down to what your motivation is, right? Yeah. You're motivated by having fun, feeling energized by what you want to do, getting up, waking up and going, fuck yeah, I'm gonna have an awesome day, blah 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 blah. Yeah. And you could argue that people of the mindset of your Teslins and whoever, right? Who is the most important person in their lives? It's probably whoever's looking at them in the mirror. It's
100%.
Probably not their consumers. It's probably not their clients. As much as they say it is, why would you be so hell-bent on telling everybody about that unless that was your main focus?
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
I know for every one superstar agent, right, that's out there doing their thing, I could give you 20 agents that no one's ever heard of that I would trust my house with over that one superstar. The end. The end. Like, That's a matter of fact. I know for a fact. My brother-in-law, for example, he does nothing publicly. Fucking hates awards. He puts zero importance on awards, right? He is still one of the sharpest minds in real estate that I've ever met. And I've met a shitload of them now. He's still one of the sharpest. I would still take him in a Pepsi challenge over most, if not all, in a debate about real estate. Yeah? But he don't give a fuck about other people hearing from him. Like for him, his biggest motivator is his daughter and his family. That's all he gives, and his boat. Right? That's all he gives a fuck about. Right? And that's his motivation. He does not give a fuck about accolades. Yeah? You don't really give a fuck about accolades. You weren't doing them videos, right? You know those really cool videos that you did? The reason, I'd seen loads of people try them. The reason why I reached out to you was because for me, it was very obvious that the energy behind it wasn't egocentric. It was, the energy behind it was of someone who wanted to do something different to help their clients get a better result than the norm. Very fucking different energy. And that's why we ended up gravitating towards each other.
Yeah, it was, I feel like it's crazy. Like, there's not many, I know we've talked about it. We went to a lunch a couple of years ago. We had a bit of a laugh at something that occurred early on. So I don't really, me personally, I don't really get along with a lot of real estate. Just nothing bad, I just don't really gravitate.
Not your tribe.
Yeah, just don't really gravitate towards them. But man, me and you, like, I feel like we just kicked it off because, like, you're real, man. Like, you're real. You're an amazing human being, and like, it's there's not just real estate, but I just feel like in general, I feel like there's a lot of humans that they're not out there to do good by people, which is and not just real. That's just
not just real estate.
Yeah, general.
But then you know, again, coming back to one of my original points, let's think cup half full. There are plenty of humans that are like that, that want to do right by people, that want to serve, right? They're put on this planet to serve. There are lots and lots of them as well. So instead of, tearing down other buildings and worrying about and blah, 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 let's just focus on the good ones, right? Let's just focus on working interdependently as good human beings to help other people to become good human beings as well. And that does start in our backyard, which is real estate, because that is our backyard. And we can't go changing the world. We can only control what we can control. So let's put that out there into the real estate space. What we said before the camera started about abundance, there's enough there for everyone, man. There really is. And the sooner you get your head around that, the happier you are in life, right? The happier you are. Like, when I first started I've got no arm and say, when I first started my auction business, I fucking hated every other independent auctioneer. So I wanted to be the best. Right? I wanted to be the most successful, blah, 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 blah. When I got my own fucking ego out of the way, I don't care now. Like Paul Zamalis, who has got a rival independent auctioneering firm in Melbourne. Me and him had dinner together at the Ostros a few weeks ago. He came up to Sydney to support me and Luke in the comp, and then he appeared on the block. And when he told me at the Ostros that he was on for the block, I couldn't be happier for him. Mate, that's fucking awesome. And for me, I was proud that a mate of mine who shares the passion for the craft as much as I do was repping. He was repping us, right? And I was really happy about that.
I think it's more as well like. What people need to understand is like just because someone else is winning, they're actually not taking anything from you. So like you're not just because they're winning, you're not losing. They're not taking anything from you. Like
exactly.
There's enough out there for everybody to win.
Exactly.
Like doesn't even matter. Like even if we'll just use real estate. You look at like the top 1 or 2 agents that have got most of the market share. There's still so much market share that is there for grabs for people to get. So. It's I
was chatting to just on that last night, really, really cool. I got to go to the unveiling of the World Cup kits for Adidas, right?
Oh, yeah, how was that?
It's like fashion parade.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. And a lad that got me a ticket there, he's got this really good idea about basically becoming an agent for community sports teams when it comes to sponsorship and things like that, right? He's a clever guy. He'd be amazing in real estate, but I can't convince him to give it a go. And I said to him, mate, if you think about it, right? If all you got was 50 local sports teams, think about how many sports teams there are in various codes just in one town, let alone a state, right? There's probably about 10 or 11 in one town. So all you got was 50 around the country, charging $1,000 a pop and offering them and guarantee that you will get them at least $5,000 in sponsorship back. You've got 50 local clubs. You extrapolate the numbers in terms of their reach, their local reach out. You then take those numbers and you look at the economical viability. You take that economical viability, put it against social media, against traditional media and whatnot, which is all getting more expensive. You then take that to a national brand and say, I'm going to put you in front of this amount of people.
Are you talking about when you say community club, like Northcote City, for example?
Or lower.
Yeah. Okay.
Or lower.
Okay, yeah, okay, got you.
Or
Yeah,
lower.
got you.
Grassroots stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah? And you took those extrapolated figures out, which would be legit, out to a national brand. Look and say to them, how much are you spending on social media at the minute? I know an owner of a brand, of a real estate brand at the minute. I went out for dumplings with him the other night, and he told me he's spending 180 grand a year on Facebook alone. Right? Alone. And then I was having the chat with Jack last night, and I said to him, mate, if you took those numbers to a national brand and said, I can get you all of this direct exposure every single weekend for 50 Gs, 80 Gs, even 100 Gs, it would still feel like a drop in the ocean compared to what they're spending per client at the minute. It would not even be a debate.
Bad. It's actually a good concept.
Fucking great concept, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I'm pushing him hard to give it a crack because he's the guy to do it.
Yeah, I've been thinking even like, for example, like Northcote City, like even if they got, just to build the sponsors and stuff like that, if you got like someone on board, pay them a percentage just to literally run and get it. It would be so much more incentive for people to grow the club, grow the everything. So it's, that what you're saying, I believe it will completely work.
But then you look at the secondary and tertiary benefits of that, right? Because then you've got communication paths to all these clubs from there on in. You've then got, for the year or whatever it is, you've got marketing opportunities off the back of that. You tell all the clubs that that's what's going to be a part of it. You're going to become a community. That then becomes a community. And you've got then another product right there, just in that community, that you then go and do this, that, and the other with. It helps to create mutually beneficial relationships. You then get bloody clinics. You then get blah, 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 blah.
It just goes on. Yeah. And no, I don't think anyone's even would be doing anything like that at all. Yeah.
But this is just it. When it comes to abundance, that's why I said to Jack last night. I said, mate, 50 clubs. There's 50 clubs just in like
Bad.
Casey.
Literally. There's so many.
And you could do any code.
And there's a lot of, any code, literally.
You could do any code because of the fact that the sell is to local community.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what code it is.
No.
And it's going to appeal to any brand because the message is going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, abundance, man.
Yeah. The going on the World Cup. What do you think, England? How are we feeling?
Fuck all.
You reckon?
I'm really pissed off.
Why?
Because Southgate, right up until the Euro final, and we lost to Italy, right up until that point, he was selecting his squad and his team based on form. Yeah. And that was his mandate when he first took over the job. Yeah. And up till that point, he was following up on, going along on that mandate, right? Ever since that moment, his tactics switched like that, and he's been picking players on reputation, going back to old school England team selection, where it's on rep, it's not on form, and that's what fucked us in the past, and that's what's going to fuck us in this World Cup. How the hell is Harry Maguire anywhere near the England squad?
He's horrible. He's horrible.
Bless him, right? When he was playing for Leicester, he was unbelievable. And I wanted him to be in the England team. Yeah. Ultimately, form happens. He's going through a real bad run of form. You
Horrible.
do not want that anywhere near a World Cup squad.
Wasn't he playing like as a striker or something last week in the Euro? But
Right?
something like that.
You've got the young lad playing in Milan, who's absolutely lighting up.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely killing
He
it.
missed, didn't he?
And he did get in the squad.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And
I know
he's
what
one of
was
the
in
best. He's one of the best young defenders in Europe, and he didn't make the England
By
squad,
far,
and
yeah.
Harry Maguire did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Why?
understand that.
I'm relieved that James Maddison did, because he deserves it, and hopefully Newcastle sign him in January. And I'm really good that Callum Wilson, he's got in there as well, and watching him every weekend, he deserves it. He's a really, really good player when he's fit. Hopefully he doesn't bust himself while he's out in Qatar now and fucks himself for Newcastle in the second half of the year. England's fucked because Southgate has gone back to the old school mentality of picking on rep as opposed to form.
Yeah.
If Sterling makes the starting lineup,
Nah, it's fucked. Yeah. Yeah.
we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're
Bellingham, he made the squad.
fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd pick Bellingham, you'd probably pick Grealish over Sterling.
Yeah.
You'd definitely pick Madison over Sterling.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? But he
Yeah.
won't. He'll pick Sterling.
Yeah. But I don't know. Sterling does perform for England. He does.
That's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Sterling performs for England. It's like fucking half these players perform for England.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, their form will ultimately tell you whether they're going to do well or not.
Yeah.
And there's better players that we should have had in the squad. Have you seen that the draw is set up perfectly for a Ronaldo versus Messi final?
I hope so. I honestly,
potential.
it'd be a great ending.
The dream.
Yeah, yeah.
Freddie
the dream.
Fred-
to
yeah.
settle the goat chat.
Oh.
Just settle the goat chat.
For any football, like if you're going to be your home nation, that's what you want, right? But I've got a funny feeling, right? Because of the absolute reliance for a lot of the teams, there's a reliance on one or two players. For like, so obviously Argentina, Messi, Ronaldo, Portugal, Belgium, De Bruyne. You know, almost every team has got one of those, but Mbappe and whatnot. I've got sneaky suspicion Spain are going to have a real big set.
They got such.
Purely because of the fact that they've not got a star.
They don't.
Yeah.
They actually don't. And they're all very well. They're just young,
Yeah, pretty
and
young.
they're just all rising stars, like little stars.
There is not
Yeah.
one ego in that Spain side.
Yeah.
That makes me worried. That
Yeah.
makes me really worried.
It's who else? France. They got a few young guns, but they're missing. They're missing a fair few.
Mbappe's ego will get in the way of them winning the World Cup.
Yeah.
They won one 4 years ago, but you could argue that's because all the other teams were
young
shit.
anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I think that Argentina will definitely make a final. They definitely make the final purely based on the fact that the team will lift just to help Messi get to a final and hopefully win a World Cup. And that's the difference between Messi and Ronaldo. And that's what makes Messi the GOAT over Ronaldo, is that team will die for Messi. The Portugal team won't do that for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
That's what makes Messi the GOAT.
That's interesting. I think I honestly want that just to kind of end it, and even on a weird perspective, just on a transfer basis. I honestly feel I just want like Ronaldo to transfer over to PSG. So you got Ronaldo and Messi playing in the same team, and then you send Mbappe to United. So then you've got Mbappe versus Haaland for the next next run.
Never going to happen in a million years.
I'm just playing my dream teams here.
I want Ronaldo to go to some shit bastard club. He has ruined any chance of him ever being the greatest player to have ever lived.
Why do you say that?
Because of his attitude now.
Yeah.
He's fucked himself. Because over the last year and a half,
It has been pretty disappointing.
he's been toys out the pram.
Yeah.
Me. When he signed back for United, I was like, that's a problem for every other club, because my thought at that time was that he was going to take the opportunity to hopefully win another trophy, but he was going to cement his legacy and this is where I thought it was going to be amazing, because I thought, right, he's going to have, because before Greenwood decided to start bloody beating up women, he had Greenwood, he had Rashford, Sancho, like some real amazing young English talent.
Sancho's
I
done
thought
nothing.
Ronaldo's going to fucking make them into
Bad.
amazing players. England's going to be unbeatable.
Yeah.
And the opposite's happened.
Bad. What's happened to Sancho?
Just fallen into obscurity.
Bad.
You know, he's just. I think he's realised that the work required to be one of the best players in the world, he's prepared to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you find your level. But Ronaldo for me has really sullied any chance of him being the world's best. Like you even take Maradona, right? You even take Maradona. As egotistical as he was, he still would have run through brick walls for whichever team he was playing for. Pele would have run through brick walls for whichever team he was playing for, as does Messi. That's what makes them the best. Because everybody at that level's got all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody. They all have.
They all are, yeah.
And then, so what's going to determine the difference between one or the other? It's the other stuff. And that's what, for me, Messi will always be better than Ronaldo, purely because of that.
Messi's what, 35, Ronaldo's 38. So I feel like even he's got a couple of years on him as well.
Yeah,
Just to,
I mean, even beyond the statistics though.
Yeah.
And you could bring this back to real estate conversation just for a second, right? Just so people don't get bored as fuck. I don't even know if you're going to chop this
Not
out.
just as
no, we're
right.
rolling with this.
Right? Bring this to a real estate thing, right? For example, the function of those players is to create and score goals. The function of a real estate agent is to get listings and sell them, right?
Yeah.
The mechanics of what they are designed to do, no different.
Yeah.
Same with Ronaldo, same with Messi. You can argue statistics all you want, right? Ultimately, the thing that brings the intangible value beyond any of that is the other stuff. It's the other stuff that isn't in a P&L. It's the other stuff that ultimately shows up in a P&L, but you can't go and buy, right? That's what put Ronaldo on the cusp of greatness because of his work ethic, right? Because his work ethic was, from what I've been told, better than anybody else's, right? But the problem is now he's got to this part of his career where even with the ultimate work ethic he's got, his body's not as young as it used to be, and his ego can't handle that.
It's crazy that when they won the Champions League in 2008, they all went and partied. You went straight back into the gym just to keep swinging. That's pretty crazy.
Which is epic. But now he needs to accept where he is in his career.
But why is it like, even like, I don't know, someone like LeBron James, at the same age, he's not slowing down. He's doing.
Team wise though, he's dropped off a lot. Like,
What do you mean?
team success wise, like same sort of thing.
Yeah, but his stats.
Like, his statistics are still there,
But his stats are like he's still
But
destroying
basketball's
it.
changed a lot as well. Statistics, they're a lot easier to get now.
Yeah,
to gain in basketball. It's
Okay.
second to none in comparison to what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
10 years ago,
Yeah,
what players do now, it's like
Okay.
it's the fast pace, the shot clock. Everything's a bit quicker now. Like,
Where would you rate LeBron though? Like if you had to give him where would you rate him as the best player in the league? Or
right now,
yeah,
I reckon he's probably like 6th, 7th best player in the league.
I'd say 10th.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There,
If they weren't 2 wins, 9 losses, I'd say 5th, 6th.
Are they 2 wins, 9 losses?
Yeah, the shit.
Holy shit!
With no
But
injuries.
you look at take Luka.
Luka Doncic, yeah.
Take Luka for example, right?
Exact same as LeBron, basically, but young.
Exactly. No, but he's not though, because the way that he operates within the team, the amount of times he sets players up,
Yeah.
is just insane.
That was LeBron James when he was younger, though.
That was LeBron. Yeah, that was LeBron.
Not
no,
so
but
much
LeBron.
now.
No, but LeBron for me, he's more down the MJ path than he is the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson path. In the sense, he's more down the Kobe path.
He's still got a lot more of that teammate, give it off, dish it off in
Yeah.
comparison to those, though. But
I think
not
Luka.
quite to
But
Luka's level.
Luka for me, he always looks to bring the whole team in at some stage,
He's unbelievable,
right?
Is he the
Giannis-
best in the NBA at the moment?
Probably.
Oh, Giannis is probably
both
better.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Giannis and Antetokounmpo, he's probably
The
better.
Greek freak, shout out, Manaris loves it.
The Greek
He's
freak.
going
Manaris
nice.
loves him.
He loves it.
The Greek freak, yeah. I knew at some stage it was going to come back to the fucking Greeks at some point.
It always,
Whatever they can get, those bloody Greeks.
it always does.
Well, we can go on, honestly, sport talk can go on.
Yeah,
we
sports
can
podcast.
open up to Newcastle, which you could probably go on for a couple of hours, but
Let's
we'll,
not.
Yeah. We'll definitely run it there. I've got one more question to end it.
Sure.
So, at the end of the podcast, you have to answer a question left by a previous guest, and then you have to leave a question for the next guest. So
Is this off Diary of a CEO?
Yes. Yeah. So then, your question that's been left for you is: do you put your socks or your jocks on first?
Jocks on first, but then I always go left sock, right sock.
Okay, jocks on first.
Yeah, I go left sock.
Left.
And then I always put, no, that's your right foot, mate.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of what I do. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
It's old school football superstition shit. It's that little bit of routine that I never thought I was keen on routine, but when I analyse myself, fuck me. At the start of my day, I am captain routine, and if anybody fucks
same.
with that, I've got a problem,
Okay.
right? I got really unsettled.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's jocks on first, and then it's always left sock, right sock.
Okay, that's very interesting. I
What do you go pants after you go jocks?
No, I go jogs, but then like I'm just trying to think on the sock perspective if I have a thing, or if it's just whatever, just rip on. I've never really thought of it. That's okay. What do you do, Kevin?
It changes, depends on the day.
Okay. Depends how you're feeling,
Yeah,
huh?
it depends on the day. If it's the weekend or...
If you're feeling frisky,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
If you think he's gonna get his leg over,
Yeah.
he'll spend more time selecting which silky numbers he's putting on. You know.
They put on the socks on first.
I'll get the old Sex Panther out.
I go everything and then shirt goes last.
60% of the time it works every time.
Everything goes on first and the shirt goes last.
No,
Always.
no.
Because otherwise the shirt gets crinkled at the bottom, or
Yeah.
it's only a t-shirt, but
Fair.
it happens.
Fair.
There you go.
So what are you leaving for someone?
I could go with something obvious and ask if you could have any superpower in the world. If you could have any superpower, what would it be, and why? Because in the sense of what would you use it for? Let's go with that.
What would it be, and why? What would you use it for? Done. Locked in, Andy. Good conversation. Thank you, man.
Always, man.
Thanks for coming.
Absolute pleasure. Pretty much, yeah, because it's going to be a real estate show. Would love to just keep getting you on every time something's news happening. The market will obviously turn in probably 3 to 6 months, so I'll give you a call and be like, Andy, I think it's time to have another chat and just let us know what's happening.
Mate.
England might win the World Cup, so we might have to do a World Cup edition. So Newcastle might go and win the Prem. Andy's going to be
Look, we're an outshot of top 4, all right? I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy just because I can say that.
Yeah.
Right?
Fire.
Oh, mate,
It's a big transfer window coming up.
We're on the way
Newcastle's
up.
they've spent, but they've still got a
We're on the
bit
way up. We're
of
on the
money
way
to
up.
spend. Yeah.
Eddie Howe, he's our king.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe's our king.
How long's it been since you guys have gone anywhere near the top 4?
We came 5th in 2013, I think.
Oh,
it
okay.
was. With
Was that when you had Denver Bar and
Alan
stuff?
Pardew. When Alan
Okay.
Pardew was manager, we had Dibral Cisse,
Yeah,
Denver Bar.
okay.
We had
Yeah,
those
that's
two
right.
banging in
That's
fucking
right.
stupid, crazy goals.
Yeah, that's right.
And we came 5th.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that.
And then it was
Yeah.
free fall after
Yeah.
that.
Denver Bar scored that crazy goal against
And then we got
Chelsea.
relegated.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah.
So,
But we're on nevertheless.
I mean, the thing is, we say the market could change next week, right?
Yeah.
Putin could bomb a rocket up to
Yeah.
somewhere and it's game
Yeah.
on, fucking all that.
Bad.
So please, my final message there, please make sure that you and those around, those in your immediate circle are safe, healthy and happy. It's all you can do.
And everything else.
Everything else is up to chance.
Yeah. That's all just fun and games. But thank you, Andy.
Take care, man. Thanks ever so much for having me.